Hello everybody, Chubby from Foursquare Studios here with a really long overdue video. In this video I'm going to be discussing where I've been for the past couple months, what's been happening with the channel, what's going to be happening with the channel. We're going to get to all that. So if you want to skip to that part, I'll add a little skippy-doodle thingy right about there. And yeah, so let's get into this. So the short answer of where I've been for the last 3 or so months, but really it's been 8. Here. This is where I've been. This is Etherion. The thing that I've been working on tirelessly for what feels like a lifetime, even though it's really only been like a year and a bit. So for any of you who want to indulge me a little bit, I'm gonna ramble about FPS, the history of it, the future of it. I should also mention that this video is going to be a lot more personal than we typically do. I'm a pretty closed-off person, normally. I don't let people in very often. But, yeah, I feel like I owe you guys an explanation of where we've been, because we kind of just dropped off the radar a couple months ago. Which I should also mention was never my intention. I was hoping that I'd be able to juggle these two tasks, but Etherion just somehow took over every aspect of my life for the last little while, and it's not even limited to just the channel. Like, I haven't even seen some of my family members in ages, it feels like. So I guess I'll start with this. When I was a teenager, unlike a lot of my friends and people around me, I knew what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do was make video games. Now, and the reason for this is kind of strange. Most people that get into making video games come from it at an angle of having played a ton of video games and their life is all about that. Mine has never been. In fact, I almost never play games anymore. We did for the channel for a while, but, like, in my personal life, Halo, probably? I guess, that is a lie. I played some of the Spider-Man PS4 game. That is awesome. But it's not the actual, love of video games that drives me to want to make them. It's the fact that creating a video game is kind of a culmination of every aspect of new media and a bit of computer science, but really just programming. For me, it's like the ultimate creative expression, because you really get to do a little bit of everything, and that's what has always drawn me to it. It's not really about the specific thing. It's about the act of creating something. I don't want to call it art, because that sounds pretentious, but really I've always been an artist, ever since I was a kid. I mean, basically since I could hold a pencil, I've been drawing. And when I was that young, all I ever really wanted to do was be a cartoonist. But that was before video games were really what they are today. Nintendo era, basically, SNES. That didn't excite me quite as much. So when I was 14 or 15, I would say, that was when I first started dabbling in video games. That was also probably the time in my life where I played the most video games. And specifically Halo. I was playing that a lot for a few years with my friends, online and all that. We had crappy, rural internet for a while, which was not the best. But you make do. And this was around the time when the original iPod was coming out. And I remember a lot of people were jailbreaking theirs and putting, I think it was called Rockbox or something like that, on their first, second, third generation iPods. But basically, what Rockbox allowed you to do, one of the things it allowed you to do, was to play Doom on your iPod, which fascinated me. Which in hindsight, with today's technology, sounds pretty silly, but especially because I think it was in black and white too. So it really wasn't that exciting, but at the time, I was really, really stoked about that. And while Doom on your iPod is cool and all my friends were playing Halo, and I wanted to do something kind of cool and put Halo on my iPod, which is kind of absurd. And of course you can't do that, because it's a completely different game, but 14-year-old me didn't really know anything about any of this stuff, so I thought I'd just try my hand at seeing if I could port that. So that's actually the genesis of Halo Doom, which you may have seen on this channel quite a long time ago. And that project was really just me getting my feet wet, basically. learning the ropes with a really rudimentary engine. Just kind of trying to figure it all out by myself, which was really fun. It was like my leisure activity. And eventually I just stopped playing Halo and made that. And the deeper and deeper I got into that, the more I knew that that's all I wanted to do. Because it was so much fun. So, around 2009, I graduated high school, and I went to university, and I took physics, which has nothing at all to do with game... Well, that's a lie. It does have a lot to do with game design. But that's not why I was taking it. I was taking it because I always felt this pressure to, like, you know, do something quote-unquote legitimate. Oh, you go to university and become a researcher or cure cancer or something like that. Although I'd love to be able to snap my fingers and cure cancer, that's never been my passion. I've always been an artist first and foremost, which sometimes I lost sight of along the way. So after becoming disillusioned with the whole physics thing, I decided to take a semester off, and when I came back, I decided to go for computer science. Because a few of my close friends were doing that. Those friends, of course, being Jeff, Michael, and Jordan, who are otherwise known as Atkist, Malgitis, and Kevin for the channel. But yeah, they were doing programming and computer science and all that, and I was already, like, in all of my spare time working on Halo Doom and trying to make that better and better. So I thought, hey, why not take classes that relate to this? So I took some intro programming courses and basically switched over to that and kept doing that for the next 4 years. Luckily, my family has been very, very supportive of all of the various stages of my life and what I've decided to do with it. Even though I'm sure they don't fully understand exactly what it is that I want to do, they're definitely open and supportive to it, which I really appreciate. So in 2012, because I was getting tired of the analytical side of things, I wanted to actually give game design a shot. And obviously, it's really hard to just do all that yourself. For anyone that's tried it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's very difficult. So me and Jordan decided to create Foursquare Studios. So we started that with Jordan, Michael, Jeff, myself, and Yukiya, otherwise known as Frosty. And basically that started in Jeff's basement, I believe. The first, like, rumblings of that. And also keep in mind, at the time, Foursquare Studios was not a YouTube channel, and it was never intended to be at that stage. It was supposed to be an indie game development company. So, yeah, we jumped around from basement to basement. We went from Jeff's basement to my basement, where I made a little office space with a whiteboard and stuff, and had a pool table, which was pretty fun. But yeah, it was really just like something to do to hang out with your friends, really. And it didn't really matter, honestly, if we finished any of the little projects that we worked on at the time. It was really just about the all working together on something, like the camaraderie of it, that sort of thing. So we had a few little projects there. Of course, we continued with Halo Doom, which has always been my little pet project, and one day I'm gonna finish that thing. I just have to. And we had another one called Project Foursquare. Now this is actually, I think, where the name came from. I don't remember if the company name came before the project. I think that was the case. Sorry, this was a long time ago, so I don't remember all the details perfectly. But, yes, it was named after a Magic card, also, because in addition to creating video games, we played a lot of Magic with each other. And Foursquare, of course, is a card from Portal, which I'm sure most of you know, and I just love the art on that thing. It's just so silly. And we always thought that it kind of looked like the bear was dancing, like doing a really weird dance in the art of that card. So, like, I think we had a thing at one point where we were trying to make, like, a dance move called the Forest Bear that was basically just that card. It's so silly in hindsight. But, yeah, so we had a project also called Project Foursquare. I don't think that one ever had a name. But that one was also on the Doom engine, and it was the first one that was like an original idea, because Halo Doom is Halo and Doom. not really an original idea. But this one was supposed to be, didn't really get very far, but we did get a level sort of done, which doesn't sound like much, but really making the levels is not the time sink, it's everything else. But again, it was really just to get your feet wet sort of thing. It was a practice, let's put it that way. Now, as someone who's never really been happy or satisfied personally, almost ever, video game production really provided an outlet for me that I could just lose myself in. Now, of course, I was aware that you could make a career out of making video games. Like, you could go into AAA and work on some really, really big projects. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make my own stuff. I've always wanted to make my own stuff. As long as I can avoid getting a quote-unquote real job, I'm going to. Because I'd rather fail and then live on the streets doing what I love than suck it up and just join the workforce and hate the rest of my life. That's of course not to say that there's no value in that, but it's just not my path. And I think a lot of people just can't really comprehend that idea, which is sad to me. For instance, I had a professor in computer science who I'll always remember for the way he said the words frame buffer. He somehow made it sound just magical and just mysterious, because he would say it like this. He'd say, frame buffer, which was like, this is just really funny to me. But I ran into him not too long ago, and when I told him that I went back to university to get a second degree in new media, which I did at some point, he thought that my entire reasoning was that I couldn't find a job in the computer science department or in the computer science world, but really I didn't even look. I just didn't even care. I just wanted to improve my own skill set to do what I wanted to do. But he just really couldn't comprehend that. He was just like, oh, you couldn't find a job. Oh, that sucks. But it really didn't. So yeah, we decided to actually turn Foursquare Studios into a real company. And that was mostly Jordan. Jordan was the one that had more of a business mind. I've never had one of those. But it was a lot of fun. Those were some of the best years. So one day we were at sushi, and we were just spitballing some ideas. I think Project Foursquare had basically ended at that point. And we came up with the idea to make our own unique IP with our own engine, which, that was something. But Michael and Jordan, who are both fantastic programmers, a lot better than I am, wanted to spearhead that side of things, so it was pretty exciting. So that's where Universa came in. So we were at sushi, we were talking about this, and I believe the first Universa design notes were on napkins. I wonder if anyone still has those napkins or took a picture of them, because it's kind of cool. The whole point of that project was, start to finish, it was all going to be ours. 100%. And we went with the theme of bears in space, because Foursquare Studios and all that. It was a lot of fun designing that thing. The scope quickly got way out of hand, but we didn't know any better at the time. So yeah, it was pretty slow to progress. We went through bursts of intense development sessions, and that was honestly some of the most fun I've ever had. So I think it was around that time that we got a proper office that wasn't just in someone's basement. Just trying to see what we could do, see the extent of it. When I was in university, after finishing computer science degree, I was definitely not satisfied with that because, I mean, that's all left brain, and I have a whole other hemisphere just waiting to be used. So I decided to go back to university and take new media because I didn't really get all the skills that I wanted for game design out of computer science. What I did get was a lot of pointless math and people telling me where all the really high-paying data entry jobs were. So I went back for new media. That kind of really just changed everything for me. But yeah, so how that relates to YouTube, I met somebody in the new media program that had quite a bit of success on YouTube. Green Skull from Ready Up Live. He's gone on to do some pretty amazing stuff. Even right now, he's doing some pretty amazing stuff. But yeah, meeting him actually inspired me to try doing a couple of my own YouTube videos. I was also watching a lot of Achievement Hunter at the time, and I thought that would be a good format to start with, kind of, because I like the way they put together their videos. And really, the whole reason that we even got into YouTube in the first place was just to see if we could generate any sort of buzz around us personally, which would help out with getting Universa out there. At least that was the theory we were operating on. So that's where the channel came in, basically. And that was the original purpose of it. It was supposed to be more video game focused, and really the Magic content didn't even factor in at the time. We did a few things in there. We had a little bit of success with some Minecraft tutorials and whatnot, but like nothing serious, really. And then we hit Goat Simulator. And when Goat Simulator came out, we were, I think, the first ones to do a complete guide walkthrough of how to get all the golden goat statues. It's kind of more of a tutorial-based thing, but I remember finishing off that video at like 4:30 in the morning, doing the voiceover with Frosty, and not even really knowing what I was saying. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, didn't really expect that to go anywhere, but that's still our biggest video to date. Even bigger than any of the Magic content. Although some have come close, nothing has ever beaten that one stupid Goat Simulator video. But that was also interesting, because that was the first time we really made any noticeable revenue off of the internet, which really wasn't the point in the first place, but as soon as that happened, and the channel started finally picking up a little bit of momentum, I thought, maybe we should run with this and try exploring this avenue a little bit as well. And especially because, I mean, there were 5 of us working on Universa. A lot of times, one person was waiting for stuff from the other people, because they couldn't really continue with what they were doing, and a lot of times you kind of get sick of doing the same sort of stuff over and over again. So that's kind of what that became. And then Foursquare Studios sort of splintered into having 2 avenues. One being game design, Universa, the other one being YouTube, and just making like Let's Plays and tutorials and stuff. And I was the one heading up the YouTube thing, because it was kind of my idea in the first place to do that. So I kind of drifted away from working on Universa as much as I used to, because I started running the whole YouTube side of things. Hopefully not into the ground. So we tried a bunch of things after Goat Simulator. We did a bunch more tutorial type things, a bunch of new series, long play things like the Pokemon series. We did like higher production quality things like the Minecraft with multicams and fancy editing and all that, but really none of that worked on anybody. Like, no one really cared. A few people did. Some people liked watching those things, but really, I mean, like, if a video cracked 1,000 views, I'd be shocked. So another thing we would do sometimes, just to lighten the mood a little bit, is we would hold cube drafts at our office. And we would, because we had a pretty expansive Magic collection even then, and it was always a shared collection between Jeff and myself. We each contributed to it. And then one day, we decided to just try filming that. I think Yukiya bought a GoPro, and I thought, like, we'll give it a shot, see what happens. So that was our first ever Magic video. And that was, and if I remember correctly, Modern had just become a format not too long before that. And we went to an F&M where I think I forget who was playing it, but somebody was playing the Cruel Brew deck from our first video. And then we decided, before we disassembled that deck, like, oh, well, maybe we'll try and film it, because it's a really cool idea. Everyone likes Cruel Ultimatum. We didn't know if anyone would like that video or not, or if people would even watch it, but they did. People really seemed to respond to the Magic content, so I decided, let's make more of that. And I think we finally had found our niche in the YouTube community, which is kind of ironic that we named the company Foursquare Studios, named after a Magic card, having nothing to do with Magic, and then the company basically morphed into a Magic company, which is kind of hilarious when you think about it. It's like full circle thing. Over the course of the next few years, leading up to the present, we've filmed over 200 decks each, which is like 400, well, of course, it's simple math. It's 400 decks across the two of us, and it might even be a little bit more than that. But I think the one thing that's always kind of held us back on YouTube and generally on the internet is just we all suck at social media. And beyond that, I've never been a social person, ever. It's actually kind of surprising that I would go in front of a camera and play games with thousands of people watching, but at least that's at a safe distance, because I'm not a people person. Never have been, probably never will be. But you really need to have a good grasp of social media to find success on the internet, I think. I think that's part of the equation, and we just don't really do that. Never have. So with university and YouTube and all other things that were going on in my life at the time, I just didn't really feel like I was contributing very much to Universa, and just generally I think like the breakneck pace of getting that done quickly just started to slow down. But we still really wanted to do it, so we were pushing to get it greenlit on Steam. At that point, we already had a playable demo level, and it was pretty close to there. But we decided to put it on Steam Greenlight to see if people would like it. So we put out a trailer, which I've never been happy with. This trailer, it's like even rewatching it, I don't like it. But we put out a trailer on the channel, and you guys seem to respond pretty nicely to it. So we put the same thing up on Steam, and then we got absolutely eviscerated. Like, everybody hated everything about the game. Nobody wanted to see it or play it, apparently. And it was just, like, all the feedback we got was absurdly negative. Some of which was constructive, but most of which was just Steam trolls being Steam trolls. At least that's what I tell myself to sleep at night. So yeah, after that happened, kind of took the wind out of everyone's sails. I don't want to speak for the other guys, but like, yeah, that basically just killed all my enthusiasm for the project. Just like, made me really question, like, who am I doing this for? And we tried to do another little push of development on it, but really, I think the writing was on the wall right after we launched that trailer that it just wasn't meant to be. Wasn't meant to go anywhere. So, yeah, we basically abandoned that project, which is too bad because we were pretty close to having a playable thing for people to try out, but it happens. But in heavy contrast to that, the YouTube side of things started really picking up, and it looked like that might have actually been going somewhere. So we kind of parted ways, as it were. At that point already, Jordan was not living in the same city as us, and we only got to work on stuff. Like, really, everyone kind of had their own stuff going on, and yeah, once Universa sort of fell apart, so did the company. Jordan and Michael both left, which I definitely don't blame anyone for that, because, I mean, they signed on to be a part of a game company, not a magic YouTube channel. So, yeah, makes sense. Unfortunately, the business side of things, I've had to more or less pick up, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It's the worst. So, also at the time, I was, as I said before, taking new media, getting a degree in that, and of course that also has actual game design courses, which is what drew me to it in the first place, is that there's, like, you can actually learn useful skills for game design in that discipline, at least at the university that I was going to. And really it let me rediscover why I love game design so much, because there was a small period of time there where I started getting really depressed, just not knowing if I made the right decisions ever. I still have no idea if I'm ever making the right decisions. But I guess that's life, isn't it? But a couple really interesting things happened to me in the new media program. First and foremost, and this changed my life more than anything else, I met my other half. Her name is Allie. She's responsible for all of the 3D work in Etherian, and a plethora of other things. And basically, she filled in all the blanks that I had in my skill set for game design, and on top of that, had a passion for it that's easily as strong as mine, if not more. That, and on the personal side, we're just unbelievably compatible. Like, I'm still, to this day, shocked that I met anyone that just fit with me so perfectly. And across the two of us, really, the only thing we're lacking is like, business minds. We just don't have them. And the other interesting thing that happened is that VR started taking off. So when we were taking some of the higher level game production courses in university, we decided that one of them we were going to use the Oculus DK1, which was all that was available at the time, to make one of those projects especially interesting. And that was really an eye-opening experience for me, because I immediately thought that this could potentially be the future of video games. Whether that's going to be the case, who can say? But at the time, it definitely felt like that was like the next big thing. So, yeah, I got a little experience under my belt working in VR, and then Foursquare Studios, because we were doing pretty well on the YouTube side of things, we decided we would try making some VR content. So around the time that the HTC Vive came out, we bought one of those. Super expensive. Still is, actually. Yeah, so we bought one of those to make YouTube content, but also to see what potential it had in game development. So when I graduated from New Media, I actually got recruited by one of my old professors who I think held a similar view on VR and AR and all that, thinking that was something really big. And he started a company called Neospatial, which I worked for about a year, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, that was just me, Allie, and him, and one other guy that was working remotely. And it was more for the like enterprise virtual reality side of things, doing stuff for other businesses and whatnot. And unfortunately, since he had other duties, professorly duties, the company just kind of didn't go anywhere. Because I think a lot of people, especially where we live, just don't even really comprehend computers, let alone virtual reality. So the next natural thing, of course, was, well, let's try and make a simple game. So that's where Etherian comes in. Now, this was right around the time that Jordan and Michael were leaving, of course. But yeah, Jordan and I started Etherian. And originally it was just supposed to be like a climbing game that had like a 2 or 3 little interesting mechanics, because that's kind of where VR was at the time. There were certainly no like longer play type games. It was all just first-person shooter games and like a little bunch of gimmicky things, like Job Simulator, and like some of the stuff you can even see on our channel, some of the earlier examples of what was out there. But originally, yeah, Etherian was not really supposed to be even something that was going to come out. It was kind of just a test bed for a bunch of different mechanics with almost no 3D work whatsoever. It was really just like a proof of concept sort of thing, and I wasn't really sure that it was going to go anywhere. But I just kept plugging away at it because, you know, what else am I going to do in my free time, right? And the more and more I got into doing virtual reality stuff, the less and less time that I had to devote to the channel and the Magic content. So, kept plugging away on Etherian, and then at some point I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna go for this. I'm gonna make this a full game. Allie joined onto the project, of course, around then as well, and yeah, it really just started shaping into something kind of special, at least special to me, special to us. And as that started picking up, the YouTube stuff started slowing down quite a bit. Adpocalypse hit, which I'm sure you've heard this from other content creators that you guys follow, but yeah, that was really hard. It was really hard to just see all your numbers across the board just dwindle. And like, basically it's just been a slow bleed out since then. Like, even if you just look at our view counts of the more recent videos compared to some of our older ones, like, nowadays, if I hit 3,000 views on a video, I'll be happy, whereas before, if it didn't hit, like, 10,000 after a certain point in time, it would just feel like a failure, and now, like, we're just scraping for scraps, basically, which really sucks, and honestly, that depresses me more than anything else. But no matter what, I'd still never lost the passion for making Magic videos. Like, even if we didn't make any money off of that, as long as we just had enough to pay our bills, then that would be sufficient. for me. Like, I didn't need to make anything off of that. That was what I did for fun. But it's at the point now where it's actually becoming really hard to even pay the bills, because, like, it's just fallen off so much. So, at some point, I released Etherion's Early Access, which you may have seen the trailer for that, and I was really, really, really excited to finally see if that would go anywhere. And it did okay. It did reasonably well. A lot worse of a reception than I had hoped for, but, I mean, considering VR is a new-ish medium, and a lot of people don't have the hardware to go along with it, I understand that the numbers are probably going to be lower. But if I look at some of the reception that other things get that I personally think are way worse, it's just really disheartening. And I could be wrong. Like, I could just be kind of blowing our own project out of proportion and just, like, looking at it through rose-colored glasses, but I really do think, objectively, there's a lot more to that than there is to something like Job Simulator, which, I mean, of course it has its place, but I'm just really salty about what gets popular these days. God, I sound like an old man. I feel like an old man. Listen to this. That is how crackly and old I've become. That's what me getting up in the morning sounds like. And now we get into somewhat of the present, at least the last time you've heard from me. About 3 months ago I decided that we were still working on Etherion, we were trying to get it out there, but it was slow going, and I didn't want to make the same mistake with this that I made with Universa, where you just slowly plug away at it until you get sick of it and don't put it out. Because I finally just want to release something. Like, I've been tinkering with video game production for well over 10 years. At this point, it's almost 15 years. And I've yet to really release anything. So this is really exciting for me. But yeah, about 3 months ago, I just decided not going to half-ass it anymore, and I'm going to devote myself thoroughly and entirely to working on Etherion and making it as good as I could possibly make it. Unfortunately, had to put FPS on hiatus for that. Our numbers were already going down, which was just, like, every time I did it, I just had that in the back of my mind, and it was really affecting me. And I think what was probably affecting me more than anything else, though, was I just was mentally exhausted. Like, you could probably tell in my playing that it got significantly worse over, like, the last 8 months. That's almost exclusively due to the fact that I'm spending all my time working on Etherion. That I wasn't doing magic videos, I was spending all of my time working on Etherion. And I'm just exhausted. Like, I just have nothing left. And it wasn't without its consequences. I mean, I expected some consequences, but I didn't expect it like this. Lately, physically, I've been pulling absurdly late nights. Like, I'm talking, if I don't pull an all-nighter, which I've done several in the last 3 months, I think, like, a short work day for me is maybe 16 hours. Some days there were a few days I worked over 30 hours straight before I went to sleep. Just on trying to get this done. Like, when I say I devoted myself to it fully, I mean that. So, incredibly late nights, I started developing really bad insomnia, which I still haven't kicked. Like, I just don't get tired enough anymore. And I don't get tired till like 6 a.m. I've been super stressed out, just exhausted. I've lost a ton of weight, which my moniker on YouTube is Chubby, but I feel like that's very disingenuous because, like, I'm basically just a skeleton with some skin on it now. And that's all just because another thing I gave up to work on this is eating properly. I'm at the point of just having maybe one meal a day sometimes, and I'm trying to get better at that now. I've gotten a little bit better at that now, but for a while there, I was basically starving myself, and it wasn't intentional. It was just, like, my body just got used to not having sleep or sustenance or anything. And of course, on the mental side of things, I've had quite a few panic attacks. I haven't had one for a while. I hadn't had one in my life up till this point, but I've had about 3 in the past 3 or 4 months, and that's on a variety of things. One, just, like, wondering if Etherion's even gonna do anything, if people are even gonna like it. But most of them, honestly, have been from the channel. And since I made the decision to step away from it temporarily and go on hiatus to work on Etherian, I've just felt unbelievable amounts of guilt that I just haven't been fulfilling my duty to you guys, and that I'm basically, like, I wonder every day if I just, taking this break just signals the end of the channel. I really hope it doesn't, but, like, I don't know what our numbers are going to look like when I come back, but still going to do it. So yeah, I've just been really, like, I worried a lot about whether I was wasting my time again, or whether I was wasting my time at all with Etherian, and just, like, if you don't get that financial cookie at the end of the experiment or whatever, if you just don't get that little financial burst from it, then, you know, a lot of people don't view it as legitimate. And I've just been so stressed out about that. But honestly, I've learned from that. I've learned that that is not how you measure success and how much money you make on something. That's how people that are just devoid of any substance measure worth in their life. Money does not equal happiness. And once I hit those lows and just, you know, worked right through it, I was finally free of the guilt that I was feeling about all this stuff, because I put all that guilt on myself. And I put it on myself for deciding to do what I wanted, which is this. So even if Etherian fails to be monetarily successful, I literally worked myself to the bone to get it to where it is. And in my mind, that will always be something that I'm proud of. Really proud of. So, on to the status and future of the channel. The part that you've waited through 40 minutes of me rambling on and on about my life through. Yeah, so my plan in the near future, this Friday, I'm going to have the first official trailer of Etherian. It's going to go up on the FPS channel, and we started another Etherian channel that's just exclusively for those. So you'll have that coming later this week. And then the week after that is probably going to be a bunch of OST things, because I made a full soundtrack for this. Every level has different music, but, like, I'll explain more of that when those videos actually come out. But that'll be stuff that comes out next week. And then, after that, now I know to you guys it seems like basically we have been taking a break, but I need an actual break. I need to be able to get a nice 8 hours of sleep again, and, you know, put on a little bit of weight, and basically turn back into a human. That's what I need to do, and I don't think I have a choice. Like, I really, really want to just immediately go right back into making magic videos as soon as Etherian's done, but I just don't have the mental fortitude or the stamina to do that yet. So, basically, Etherian will be coming out in November, around the first or second week of November. I don't want to say anything for sure yet, but that'll be in the trailer. And I'm basically, until that's out, I don't think I can come back yet. It's just, like, I have to see this through all the way to the end. And, yeah, that's my plan. So I know to you guys it seems like we've been on a massive break, and now I'm telling you that I'm taking another one, but it's for my own sanity and my own health. I just don't have a choice, I don't think. Plus, the content's not going to be very good if I can't even think my way through a simple magic game because my brain is just depleted. Oh, and I should also mention about the new guys. So we brought on Connor and Andrew and Dan to do some Commander content, and the point of that was for them to do that while I was taking this break, working on Etherian, but of course the execution of that was pretty poor. I somehow, after doing this for several years and having edited like over 1,000 videos total, kind of forgot that there's a learning curve to this sort of thing, and I sort of just threw them into the deep end. And I feel pretty bad about that. I'm hoping that we can get some of the Commander stuff rolling again, because some of you seem to really enjoy that. And of course we can work out all the kinks. But basically, like, if you're wondering at all why those videos weren't really up to the same quality standards as my other ones, it's basically because they were doing that kind of for the first time. And it's really not fair to put that on them. So, yeah, not really sure where all that is going to go, but there you go. So I've often said this in comments, regardless of if this channel grows or slows or dies entirely, just like dives off the map, I personally still love making these videos, and I love playing Magic. That's never gone away from me. It's kind of nice to have a little bit of a break from it, honestly, but I'm pretty excited to get back into this. I have a Seance deck that I made a while ago that I've just been so excited to show you guys. It's really cool and it's really fun, and it has Realm Razor in it, which is sweet. yeah, I'm just really excited to get back into things. And if you're wondering when for that, my guess would be second half of November, probably. That should probably give me enough time to kind of recharge my batteries, as it were. But also, we're going to have a sit-down with all the personnel that are still involved with this and just really figure out what the plan is for the future. And that's also where you guys kind of come in a little bit. Because really, like, I try new ideas all the time. I try new formats out, try new series out and all that, but I just don't know what works. I just don't really know what people want to see, because every time I do that, the view counts are just pathetic compared to everything else. And we try it for a while, and I just don't know what the audience wants. So I'm really, like, I'm just gonna ask, what kind of stuff do you guys want to see out of us? Because, like, I don't know what to do from here to get things back on track. We're going to have a meeting about this where we come up with some solutions to this. I think we're going to move over more to a Patreon style thing, like a little more Patreon centric and heavy. But we'll have to work all that out after Etherian's out, because I just don't have the mental capacity to take on something like that right now. I just don't. Thank you to anyone that sat through this entire diatribe of rambling. And, thank you to anyone who sticks with us and who has stuck with us through all these years, because there are some of you that I know have been there since basically the beginning, and you like, I can't even describe how much that means to me, that there are people that actually give a shit about what we're doing. That's like the icing on the cake. And even if the numbers go down and all that, if we had 100, or hell, if we had one really devoted fan, that's worth 1,000 occasional watchers, honestly. So, just thank you for your patience with me through all this, and your patience with us through all this, and just thank you. So, with that, I'm going to sign off here and get back to work. So, till next time, we'll see you guys later. And I suppose since Jeff's not here, I should probably throw in a bye for him. See ya.